Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in the South and our online audience tuning in thanks to iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcasts. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Well, as college kids are headed home during this time of year, COVID-19 may be at the top of their list, but it's not the only health concern they have to worry about. If you've been like me and watching some of the commercials on television, you've been hearing a lot about meningitis. It is a potentially life-threatening disease that poses a particular threat to teens and young adults. Here to talk to us more about what meningitis is and how to protect your child, we're excited to welcome GSK vaccine researcher Dr. Friedland to our program today, as well as meningitis survivor. We're excited to welcome Jamie Schanbaum to our program as well. Hello to the two of you, and thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrus, for having us.
Hey, glad to do it. Dr. Friedland, I'm going to start with you. As I mentioned, I've been seeing these commercials on television a lot lately. What exactly is meningitis, and what are the symptoms of it?
Well, thank you, Cyrus. I'm Dr. Len Friedland. I'm a pediatrician and a vaccine research scientist at GSK. So meningococcal disease, commonly referred to as meningitis, is an uncommon but serious bacterial illness that can cause life-threatening complications and even death. 1 in 10 people will die from this illness in 2020 in the United States, often within 24 hours of first getting sick. And those lucky enough to survive, and you'll hear from Jamie, who's a meningococcal survivor in just a minute, 1 in 5 can end up with lifelong complications such as amputations or blindness or seizures, as an example. The disease is caused by a bacteria. The bacteria lives in our nose and in our throat and typically doesn't cause any problems. But things in our nose and in our throat are going to get spread through saliva, through secretions, from sharing things, from kissing, from being in close quarters like in a college dormitory. And it's our adolescents and young adults who have a peak of illness due to these common behaviors. When people come down with the illness, they typically will start in the beginning meaning there's the first few hours, just feeling not so well, like they have a cold or a flu. But quickly, within hours, they're getting very, very sick, feeling very, very weak, sometimes having seizures and other issues, and then they present to an emergency department, and that's when they end up often in an ICU, literally fighting for their lives. It comes on very, very quickly. But there's good news here, Cyrus, and that is that this can be preventable through vaccination, and the best way to manage this disease is to prevent it from starting to begin with, and we do that with 2 different types of vaccines that are recommended by the CDC for all adolescents and young adults here in the U.S.
We're hearing more about vaccinations these days as well, Dr. Friedland. We're definitely going to come back to that point because I think it's so important. Sure. Jamie, I do appreciate you being on with us. If you don't mind, share with our audience a little bit about your story. I mean, how you first discovered that you had meningitis and what has it been like for you in your life?
Yeah, so my story with meningitis started back in 2008. I was a new student at my dream university, and I couldn't even enjoy a full semester without contracting this disease. I was a healthy student one day, and then the next day I was in the hospital fighting for my life. Though that night my symptoms were flu-like, which progressed rapidly to not being able to walk without pain. I couldn't retain any warmth. It was very scary. And by the time I got into the hospital, they put me in a semi-medicated coma where I watched my limbs go from red rash to purple to black to rotting. So I was half alive and half dead. And this is how I learned what meningitis was. I had to learn the hard way of what this disease is. And the doctors had to make the tough decision to amputate both of my legs below the knee and all of my fingers as a way to save my life.
So, Jamie, and I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, you not only, though, have had to deal with meningitis yourself, why was it important for you to then be able to raise awareness and to advocate on behalf of others?
It became important to me because I remember being in the hospital, and I remember asking myself, like, why did this happen to me? And then I remember hearing other stories of people getting meningitis, and I wondered if they knew anything about it. Were they like me, where they were in the hospital and this is how they had to learn about meningitis? So it quickly transitioned to, why does this have to keep on happening to others? So that's why I made it my life's mission to become an advocate, and I'm grateful to be with GSK to share my story and to make sure that other families who are hearing this can learn from this and be proactive and talk to their doctors about what vaccines are available to help prevent this disease.
So, Dr. Friedland, back to you, and it's really inspiring to hear Jamie's story. You mentioned vaccinations. Why is it so important for our audience? Because, there is such hesitancy among some, but why is it so important for us, especially when it comes to meningitis in young people, that vaccinations are something that is being looked at?
Yeah, great question, and thank you for bringing that up, Cyrus. I mean, Jamie is so brave and really one of my personal heroes for sharing her story and letting families know about this. What parent wouldn't want to protect their child against something that is lurking out there that could strike at any moment and can be so devastating? Not only am I a pediatrician and a vaccine research scientist, I'm also a parent of two young, now they're in their 20s, but when they were younger, I made sure that they were protected against this type of meningitis. As soon as the vaccines were available, I made sure that we went to their pediatrician and had the discussion and then chose to vaccinate, because the best way to manage this disease is through prevention. This is not something we want to wait for it to happen and then manage it, because 1 in 10 will die from this illness. This is a very serious disease, and it strikes indiscriminately. We cannot predict who's going to get sick. And that's the power of vaccination. Through our knowledge, we can develop tools that can keep our children healthy. It's winter break time. People are coming back. Families are getting back together. Hopefully there's some downtime in our schedule. So let's take that time and do two things. First, we've created a website, and that website is meningitisb.com, meningitisb as in boy.com. And at this website, you can learn about the two different types of vaccines to help protect against meningitis that are recommended for adolescents and young adults. One of those types is called Group B, as in boy, and that's the type that's caused all of the outbreaks on college campuses in recent years. In Cyrus, only 1 in 5 adolescents and young adults across the United States have received that vaccine. So meningitisb.com to learn about the two different types of vaccines to protect against meningitis, including the meningitis B vaccine. And then the second ask is make an appointment with your doctor. Go in, bring your adolescent, your college-age student to the office. Get them up to date on everything that's recommended to keep them healthy, including asking about the meningitis vaccines, and then make a decision about the vaccine for meningitis B if they haven't already received it, because we want to do everything we can to keep ourselves healthy. And again, meningitisb.com for more information. And thank you for having us on today and asking about this disease and how to prevent it.
It is our pleasure. Again, everyone, Dr. Len Friedland as well as Jamie Schanbaum has been our guest talking with us about this. meningitisb.com. We'll link that for our audience joining us online. And thanks to the two of you for the time. I really appreciate the time and the information.
Thank you.
Us too. Thank you.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.